What's up YouTube, Headshot87. Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for joining us. Today we are going to look at two pistols. I have had so many requests to revisit the Glock 43, especially since the PPS M2 has come out. So here we go. We're going to do it. It's been a year, almost a year, since we reviewed the Glock 43. We're going to revisit this gun. We're going to compare it to other guns as well, and do an ultimate single stack shootout. So make sure you become a subscriber. Keep in mind this takes a lot of work, so if you guys will destroy that like button, become a subscriber. It literally takes like 2 seconds to do that stuff. And thank you guys for all the support and everything you do for us, and let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about a lot in this video. If you're looking at these two guns for carry or whatever, we're going to talk about from out of the box to your holster, shooting, pros and cons as we see it. We're going to talk about a lot. So this is not a commercial. This is going to be pretty long, but hopefully it'll give you the information you need to make a decision. And let's go ahead and get started. So right out of the box, Glock 43, been out for almost a year now. A lot has changed on our channel since we reviewed this gun, and a lot of good things have come about since we first reviewed this gun. Very successful gun in the past year or two. Obviously you get a hard case from Glock. You're going to get the gun, 2 magazines. All right, these are 6-round magazines. One has the pinky extension on there. All right, and the other one has the flat base plate. Now, almost immediately after this gun came out, Terran Tactical had their +1 and +2 base plates for this thing, and all the accessories that you want. Now you can definitely get them. Sight options and everything. I paid $449 for this one. When I bought it last year, when it first came out, I paid $499. I seen people that paid $599 for this gun when it first came out. This thing was hot and people were willing to pay for it. You get a little assist loader. It's not like the Mag Lula or Up Lula. It's nowhere near that quality, but if you don't have one, then you know, that'll do just fine. So let's go ahead and take this one out, move the box to the side. All right, Walther PPS M2. Of course, this is their modified version of the original. You're going to get a hard case. You're going to get the gun, 1 flat base plate, 6-round magazine. I'm going to go ahead and empty that here in a second. Of course, you get the gun, your paperwork, all that stuff. And then you're going to get the 7-round extended magazine. All right, so obviously the PPS, the original one, has been out since 2007. They decided to do some upgrades, and of course we're going to talk about all those in this video. I'm also going to tell you which one I like the best out of these two at the end of the video. All right, so let's go over what makes these guns so unique. I'm going to go ahead and empty out these rounds here. I have carried both of these guns too, and we'll talk about how they carry. So let's go and talk about the features of the Glock 43. It basically is a small, shrunken down, single stack 9mm Glock. All your features are pretty much the same. Of course, you don't have any area right here or a Picatinny rail. They kept the squared off trigger guard with the pretty high undercut up here, so it feels really good. You get your 2 finger, or at least your middle finger up there really high, and it gives you a sense of confidence. And this gun really does that well. Oversized magazine, Gen 4 button. Stippling on the grip is not the best. They actually promote it as an aggressive stippling. It is not that. It's just these little bumps. Doesn't do a lot as far as like extended firing. Of course, you have the 6-round standard magazines. Both of them are 6 rounds. And everything's just a miniature Glock. Slide stop right there where you would expect it. Slide serrations, they're not too bad. Don't come up very far at all. But they do a pretty good job whenever you're racking the slide. And one thing about this gun too, as small as it is, it's still pretty easy to rack. So just keep that in mind. A lot of these small guns are not that easy. Coming around to the back, you'll notice you do have your hump here. And this hump, actually for me, is a benefit because of how small the gun is. It does a really good job of filling your hand, so it feels like you have a lot bigger gun than what you do. This gun is not that big. But coming around the back, you have your standard Glock U-notch style sights there. Plenty of sight options available for this gun if you want to swap them out. Your magazine button is reversible. So this is one of the few small single stack guns where you can reverse the magazine button. Takedown notches, and we will talk about both triggers, and I'll show you the weights after the shooting part of the review. Alright, so pretty standard. You do have a beaver tail back here too, so that's going to prevent any kind of slide bite. Alright, very nice option from Glock. The smaller the Glocks get to, the better they start looking, which is kind of weird. Now, the PPS M2. Let's talk about the features of this. They deleted the spot up here for your rail. So you no longer have that option. On a small gun, I don't think it's that crucial. I'm just fine without having that option for a rail. Right up here, you'll see they had a very nice high undercut right there in the frame. And it really makes you, like I said on the Glock, it really promotes that confidence. You'll notice there how much higher the PPS was able to get that undercut and how much more defined it is right here. So it really does make it pretty comfortable for sure. No more German style paddle magazine release. You now have a standard button right there. Alright, so pretty much same area as you would expect any Americanized, you know, firearm. 6-round magazine, obviously. It's going to be your flush base plate. You have slight finger grooves right here in the front. The stippling on the grip is fantastic. It is just like the Big Brother. They basically modeled it after the PPQ. And you can tell how similar they are. Very awesome stippling on the grip. I love what Walther does with that PPQ style stippling. Takedown notches just like the Glock. You'll notice you have front and rear slide serrations. So this is something kind of cool on a smaller gun. You can do your press checks if you want. Again, this gun is very easy to rack. That's something that both these companies, it seems like they paid attention to that. So I feel like most people could rack this gun with no problem. Slide stop is right there. It is a little bit bigger than the Glock. Alright, and it's a little bit more, it's not as recessed. So the Glock is a little bit more recessed to the frame. But they're both pretty easy to get to. The Walther's is just a little bit bigger. It's protected around there as well, as is the Glock. Coming around to this side, you're going to have your standard PPS sights. So these are the same exact sights that come on the original. Alright, pretty nice sight picture there. You have your striker indicator on the back. So when you pull the trigger, you'll see that it will go away. And coming around to this side, why Walther decided not to have the option to reverse this magazine button is beyond me. Glock was able to do it. I feel like they probably could have done it. I don't know why they opted not to do that, but that's kind of a disappointment for left-handed shooters for sure. And then of course you have your 7-round magazine. So this is something, obviously you can see down here, your extension, it basically becomes an extension of your grip. You have your same kind of squigglies on the finger extension, plus you get the 1 extra round. So as far as features, that's what makes these two guns different. Let's go ahead and talk about the specs really quick. Alright, so Mrs. Headshot is going to show you around the guns here real quick while I talk about them. Don't want to bore you guys too much, but the specs here really quick. The length of the Glock is 6.2 inches long. The height is 4.2 inches with the flat magazine. The width is 1.02 inches. So I'll show you these right next to each other here in a second. Barrel length is 3.39 inches. Unloaded weight is 17.95 ounces. That's something I love that they did on this gun. They made it light. The trigger is around 5.5 pounds. Of course, we'll talk about that after the shooting. And the MSRP is $529. I actually paid $449 for this gun. And law enforcement and military can get these well below that. 9mm only on the Glock, okay? PPS M2, 6.3 inches long, so it's a little bit longer. Height is 4.4 inches, so it's going to be a little bit taller, even though they got the same magazine. That's going to be 4.4 is with the 6-round magazine. 1 inch in width, so they're basically the same as far as width. 3.1 inch barrel, 21.1 ounces, which is That's something I wish they would have done, updated on this gun, because the original was about that heavy as well. 21 ounces for a single stack, that's getting up there. That's getting up there. The XDS is like that too. It's heavy. Trigger is around 6.1 pounds and MSRP is $469. That's something they hit right on the mark, because the original PPS was expensive for a long time. This one I was able to get for, I think, $405 or $410 with a $20 transfer. So the Glock was $60 more, somewhere in that range. And the Walther is available in 9mm right now. We're in March 2016. So any day now, the 40 should be coming out here. Let me go ahead and show you what these guns actually look like side by side. Let's get them in their smallest configurations first, and then we'll get to some shooting here in a minute. Alright, so in their smallest configurations, you will notice here, you can even see it from right here, the PPS is a little bit taller. As far as width, they're just about the same. Technically, the Glock is a little thicker, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference. Let's go ahead and put them on their backs. And there you can see PPS is a little bit taller, same rounds in the magazine right now, and it's going to be a little bit longer as well. But overall, they have pretty much the same footprint. One thing that's interesting is when you look at the grips, they're kind of, you know, the Glock definitely does look smaller, but it's not that much smaller when you get to here. You'll notice you can see the PPS and the Glock kind of line up right there. That's where Glock did really good on this hump, because if the Glock came straight down, kind of like the M&P does, it would give you a really small feeling in the grip. But because they accentuated that hump, it really makes a difference and really makes it feel good in the hand. The PPS feels great in the hand as well. Of course, you do have a little bit more grip to hold on to. So, and then when you put the 7-round magazine in there, of course, you're going to get one extra round. And then the Glock, you'll notice the PPS is still taller, but of course you do get that one extra round. So you kind of got to pick your poison with that. If I had the Terran Tactical base plate extensions, I could show you those. They still keep the gun pretty short, kind of like it is stock. Let me show you breakdown here before we get to shooting, and pull the trigger on the Glock. You guys have seen this 100 times. It's just like a standard Glock, so that's pretty cool. PPS, same exact way. Pull your trigger, pull it back. 2 takedown notches, just like the Glock. The recoil springs, they're both dual captive. Notice with the Glock though, they have a spring underneath the spring. That's a Gen 4 kind of thing. It was kind of cool last year, just thinking about it. You know, when we found out the news that Glock was finally coming out with a single stack 9, they had a picture of this spring and we did a video on it. It's kind of cool thinking how much has changed really on our channel and how much we've grown since the Glock 43. It's kind of cool. Barrels, they come out pretty much the same. There you go, there's the barrels. And there's your slides. Of course, Glock has been doing this for a long time. Striker blocks pretty much in the same area. Notice your Glock is a little bit different in shape, but there you go. Your sight on the Glock, it has that, there's a tool that you can use to actually remove that. On the PPS, it looks like a flathead screw. So internally, they are pretty similar. You'll notice right here on the Glock, you got your 4 points of contact. All right, and on your PPS, you have your points of contact over here, and then you have one long rail on this side. So kind of interesting what they did there. From the original PPS, your slide and barrel and your recoil spring will fit onto an original PPS. So even though they did recontour it, they have those extra front slide serrations and things like that. The slide from the original PPS will still go onto this frame and vice versa. So sights from the original PPS will work on this gun as well. All right, so then put this back together really quick. They're both very simple to maintain, which is something that is essential in today's guns. If you have a gun that's hard to take apart, hard to clean, or whatever, you're really behind the curve. All right, so let's go ahead and get some shooting, and we will see you guys in a minute. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As you can see, both guns, for what they are extraordinary when it comes to shooting. Now, you may do better or worse in your hands, but that's something I love about today's single stacks, is that you have two guns that are primarily for concealed carry, but you can take them to the range, fire as much as you want, and they're still fun, still controllable, and all that. So it's kind of cool. You know, today's market on guns is just awesome, and I love it. Come here, Shady. Come here.
That's our dog.
All right, so let me go ahead and show you these targets here really quick. Mrs. Headshot with the Glock 43. Over to the left a little bit, as far as the group, it's not bad at all. The PPS M2, you can see right there. Over to the left and up a little bit. All right. Glock 43 for me, right there. Not too bad at all. Keep in mind we were going for a really extreme accuracy, because that's not what these guns are for, but you can be very accurate with them. PPS M2 right there, not too bad at all. I think that was a Glock 43 again. I did notice when I started picking up with the Glock 43, as far as speed a little bit, I had to take my time more with that gun. I really blame it on the sights, man. I really do. The Glock 43 and that sight picture for me just does not work out. All right, here's the Glock 43 for me again. Haven't shot this gun in a while, so I'll use that as an excuse. I don't know if it'll work or not, but not terrible. But like I said, for what you needed to do, if that was a real human being trying to attack me, I would get the job done. PPS M2, there you go. Again, not too bad at all. Here's one. I don't know if we showed this or not in the shooting, but I did a 15-yard headshot test like we normally do. On the PPS M2, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 7. I believe I had the 7-round mag in there. On the Glock, I hit the very first shot, very first one right there, and then pulled the rest of them. So there's another one right there. But I don't know what it was. It was probably just me. But man, if I keep the Glock 43, I got to change the sights on it. PPS M2 for Mrs. Headshot. Very nice group right there. Not too bad at all. As you can see, the gun is a shooter. Look at the 43 right there. That's a decent group for this kind of gun. I know somebody's going to come in here and say, oh my god, that's terrible, but you know, whatever. That's pretty good for this kind of gun. You may do better, you may do worse, you know. But either way, on each gun, there are things on each one that I would like to change, that's for sure. Let me go ahead and show you the triggers here really quick. On the Glock, you have a standard safe action style trigger with the dingus right here in the middle. You're going to have a little bit of take up, hit a nice clean wall, and break. Very nice trigger on the Glock. I love this. I love the trigger on this thing. Reset. Very snappy, very audible. And your break is right there. Very nice. Let me show you the weight on that one here in a second. PPS M2, they did redesign the trigger as well, so it's wider, and it actually feels lighter to me than the original, and it's not as sharp. The dingus on the trigger, you still have that, but it's not as sharp as the original. So you hit a nice clean wall here. Boom, break. Both of them have excellent triggers. Reset, right there. And you're right back in action. All right, let me show you the trigger here on the Glock really quick. See if we get this thing to full. 8 pounds, 7 ounces. That's actually higher than what I was getting earlier. I know you got to be really precise with this thing too. Like, it gives you readings without even touching anything. 8 pounds, 6 ounces. Let's try one more time. £8. So it's right in that range. I'm sure once you shoot it some more, it will lighten up quite a bit. The Walther here really quick. 6 pounds, 6 ounces. 5 pounds, 11 ounces. 6 pounds, 1 ounce. So just from these readings right here, the Glock is definitely higher as far as the pull, but sometimes that's a little misleading because honestly, both guns to me really have nice triggers, and just pulling them, you know, just firing and actually using the guns, you notice a little bit with PPS that it's lighter, but you don't notice a drastic change moving from this gun to this gun.
Not
and
3
firing,
pounds.
yeah, and I mean firing the gun, you don't really feel that kind of weight difference. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right, so as far as how the guns carry, I haven't had a real fair representation of this because what I've actually been able to do is use my Performance Center Shield holster for the Glock 43. And this configuration right here is super comfortable. Very, very, very comfortable. So that's how I've been carrying the Glock 43. The PPS I've been carrying in a hidden hybrid holster, which is a comfortable holster as well, but it's really not a fair, you know, comparison with the two because the PPS, it is a bigger gun, at least in the trigger guard area, won't fit in the holster. So, you know, the Glock is lighter, and you can tell it's lighter. You know, I mean, it's almost 5 ounces lighter than the PPS. So it's gonna be a little bit more comfortable inside the waistband. But it's not like when you put the PPS on that you're like, oh my God, this thing's weighing me down, I can't do it. It's really not that drastic of a difference, but it is a difference. And inside the waistband, if you've carried, you know what I'm talking about. It does make a difference. So from what I have, from what I'm working with here, I'm still waiting on Holster to release their holster for this one, for the PPS, but the Glock is more comfortable to carry. One thing I did want to show you before we start talking about pros and cons and all this stuff, if you're considering these guns, something to keep in mind is the length of the grip. So the length of the grip is what you're actually trying to hide and conceal. This is a SIG P320. It holds 12 rounds in the magazine. Awesome gun. I absolutely love it. All right, so as you can see, if you're thinking about carrying one of these guns, just keep in mind, for a little bit more width and a little bit more length, you go from 6 rounds to 12 rounds. Just something to think about. I love single stack guns. I love carrying them, especially in an area where I absolutely can't have anybody see me carrying. I love these kind of guns. I love them. But just keep in mind, you know, your money is in the thinness of these guns, really, because you can tell a big difference there. And when you put these inside the waistband, you can definitely tell. But it's just something to consider. Pros and cons. We've talked about a lot in this video. Let's go ahead and end it out with pros and cons and which one I like the best and why. Pros for the 43, they did an amazing job on the balance of this gun. That balance between feel in the hand and shootability and size, comfort, and everything. This gun is just absolutely fantastic for that. Aftermarket support for the Glock 43 is going to be great because it's a Glock and people, you know, tend to gravitate towards them. So of course, aftermarket support for the Glock is going to be fantastic. The reliability, I haven't seen any claims out there that this gun is unreliable, any issues. I know the 42 had some, you know, minor issues in the beginning, but not the 43. Good trigger on it. Like I said, even with that weight difference, I like the trigger on it. I think it's great. Of course, you do have your 3.5 pound connectors for them. Great balance, great feel in the hand, and the price has dropped, and also you military and law enforcement guys get yours for a discounted price. So the price has dropped on them as well now that everything's balanced out, and they're starting to be made in the USA, which is kind of cool. As far as the pros on the PPS M2, everything they did with this gun makes sense. The magazine button now is where you would, you know, any American shooter would actually probably prefer it. The grip feels great. The way it feels in your hand just feels fantastic. This is definitely a great little shooter. I do prefer the sight picture on this gun, so that's something to keep in mind as well. If you're used to Glocks, you will probably not have a problem with the sight picture on the gun, but I definitely prefer the one on the PPS. The mags drop super easy out of the gun, and that's something I like as well. So it's very, very responsive to everything that I do with it. It comes with a 6 and a 7 round magazine, so that's something nice for a backup or whatever. You'll probably want to carry it with the 6 round, but it actually has 1 extra round for your extra magazine. It really handles like a big gun, and both of these guns really feel bigger than what they are, and that's something, like I said, and I've said previously, I enjoy that with these guns. They feel bigger than they are, they shoot bigger than they are, and that's something very enjoyable with them. Great price right out of the box, or right out of the gate. Walther decided we're gonna sell this thing. We're gonna sell it right, and $400 to $449. That's a great price, and they really did a good job making that price low so everybody can pick one of these up. Like I said, the originals were over $500 for so long that they kind of fell by the wayside. Then you had guns like the Shield and XDS and all those guns come out and kind of take over the market. Now let's go and talk about cons, because every gun has them. No matter what your friends tell you about this gun or that gun or whatever, all guns have cons, and I'm going to tell you about mine for the Glock 43. The number one is the sights. Now it's not like I can't shoot this gun, okay, with these sights, because I can. We both can. But I feel like with a better set of sights, I could definitely hit more consistently. I think that's the only thing for me in this gun. There's something with lining up that front dot with those U's, or with that U in the back, it just doesn't work for me. Maybe a little bit snappy in some people's hands when you're firing the gun. You can tell there's a little bit more recoil, felt recoil with this gun. It's not insane amount of recoil, but for some people that are sensitive to it, it may be an issue. 6 round magazines, I am not a fan of this. I definitely feel like they could have they could have got another round out of this for sure. 6 rounds in the mag, that's coming in for the competition pretty light compared to the LC9S, the Shield, the XDS. You get my point. 6 rounds in the magazine was kind of light. And the mag button, and especially this mag, sometimes don't want to drop. Now you see there, I'm just pushing it in. It acts like it doesn't want to drop sometimes. The mag button is very stiff, and you have to push it way into the frame to get that thing to drop free. And sometimes it doesn't drop free. Now I don't have too many issues with the finger extension magazine, but with this one, sometimes I just have those issues where it just doesn't want to drop. Other than that, that's all I got on the Glock. Really, really great gun. PPS M2, they had this great gun, this great new redesign, and they didn't update the 6 round magazine. Come on, you could have updated the magazine. 6 rounds for these guns is just light, and compared to the competition, once again, it's a downer. Keep in mind too that we are talking about single stacks, so capacity is not the first thing on your mind when you carry these guns. Comfort is, but still, to get 7 round magazines, 7 round capacity is kind of the standard. Mags from the original won't work, so if you have a safe full of original PPS magazines, they're not going to work with this gun, and that kind of sucks for those people that want to upgrade to this one. Heavy for a single stack gun. For a single stack gun that's 21 ounces, I think a Glock 19, and I know a Glock 26 weigh right under this, and those are double stack guns. I feel like they could have shaved a couple ounces off this gun. Now, it does make the shootability a little bit better, and it does handle recoil better for sure, but it's still heavy for a single stack. I wish they would have kind of shaved a couple ounces off of it. Aftermarket support, it depends on how this gun's going to do. I think it's going to do really well. I think people are already taking to it very, very, very well. So hopefully that's the case. We don't know really what the aftermarket support's going to be, but it's not going to be close to what the Glock is. The mags are kind of stiff to load. I've never really cared for the Walther magazines anyways, but they're kind of stiff. And maybe a little bit harder for some people to conceal if you have a smaller frame, a female, whatever. You know, this may be a little bit harder for you to conceal. All right, so we have talked about a lot in this video. I hope that this has been entertaining and informative for you guys. As far as which one I like better, and I'm gonna put it like this, as far as which one I feel more comfortable with walking out the door, shooting at the range, I'm gonna go with the Walther. They did a freaking fantastic job on this gun. Every little change they've made makes sense. The ones they didn't change are the ones that kind of bother me. But they did a fantastic job on this gun, and I feel more comfortable with the PPS in my hand when I'm shooting. Like I said, when I pick up the Glock and I start to shoot a little bit quicker, I really got to be conscious. I got my sights lighted up, you know, trigger control, all that kind of stuff. For me, it just takes a little bit more concentration. It's not a bad thing, and it's not a hard thing to do with this gun, but it just takes a little bit more for me. But that's one thing too, and one thing that I really like, why I'm kind of conflicted with this, is the Glock 43 is a little bit lighter to carry. It has a great feel in the hand. It's just one of those things. I feel more comfortable with the PPS, but if I would take either one of them, to be honest with you, and be just as happy. PPS is going to be a little bit cheaper coming out of the gate. From what I've seen, it's anywhere from 20, 30, 40 bucks cheaper sometimes. But the Glock 43 is going to give you aftermarket support where this one won't. So I think right out of the box, I think more people would enjoy shooting this gun more. I think when it comes to carry, most people wouldn't have a problem with the extra weight. But if you're sensitive to the weight, and you want something really light, easy to conceal, and still a fun little shooter, this gun might be your ticket.
That's very comfortable.
So both of them are great guns. I like both of them. This one I've been carrying in the holster. Both of them in that kind of holster setup. I really love them. So that's all I got for you. Let me know what you guys think down below about the 43 versus the PPS. Which one you like the best, or which one you're looking at. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've made it to the end with us, thank you so much. Make sure to destroy that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video, guys. And as always, hold them down.